What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy T.
Hey, it's your man B.
You want to ride up?
Episode 8.
8. Yes.
The Kobe
Season
episode.
2, episode 8, baby.
OG Kobe.
Max.
Season 2.
Adidas Kobe.
Respect, man. It's been a rough week for the country, at least Black America. But it's we try to keep our minds in a place that we can let get our minds off of that for at least an hour and a half.
Right.
Before we start off, man, we just gotta say, man, rest in peace to George Floyd. We gotta say rest in peace to Breonna Taylor. We gotta say rest in peace to Ahmaud Arbery. We gotta say rest in peace to Sean Reed and everybody else we lost or is being currently harassed by the police in this country. That's in jail. That's getting a life taken. That don't have no videotape about it. That's not on the news.
Right.
Because it happens everywhere. All of us have at least one or two stories about how we've, had a run-in, and we're all up. Like, I'm a tax-paying citizen. I'm a church boy, choir boy. Still, had a gun pointed at my face. Let's be real about it. That's not in the papers. So, just how it was responded to is how, we always talk about peace and nonviolence, but how it was responded to is when you see the nonviolence ain't getting you nowhere. What's going to happen? You know what I mean? So I don't want to touch on it too hard, but rest in peace to George Floyd. Shout out to everybody. Salute to everybody out in Minneapolis riding for him, right or wrong. And our hearts and our minds is with y'all. And we're going to give that a moment of silence.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, man. What you got? We had a whole nice, episode that didn't have, anything to do with anything. So let's talk about villains.
Wait. Before we do that, I want to shout out.
Wait. All right. You got it?
Yeah.
Nah, yeah. The sound was getting muffled. My bad.
I want to shout out a podcast.
Okay.
It's called the Believe Podcast with Matt Moderno and Larry Hughes.
Okay. Oh, Believe. Yeah. I got you.
I'm giving this podcast a shout out because when you talk sports like I do and you do, and sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we can get a little righteous. Sometimes we can be stuck in our ways and the way we view things. And there was a post about colleges or whatnot or whatever, and in a Bullets post, a Wizards post, and they asked, the question was, if you were like the number one recruit coming out of high school, what college would you go to?
Mm-hmm.
And Matt is in one of these groups, and he posts. Clearly, he was plugging his podcast, but he was posting about what Larry Hughes said or whatever. And I was like, he was saying how he wouldn't have went. He was talking about how he had a chance to go to Kansas, but he ducked Roy Williams for like 2 hours. That's what he said in the podcast. And I responded. I said, "Oh, so great." I said, "So Larry used to making goofy ass decisions. It's like when he left the Wizards to go chase after LeBron."
Right.
And boy, Matt clapped back for his man Larry. He clapped back for him.
You screenshot that and put it on IG. You got to screenshot. You got to screenshot that and put it on IG.
I will. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you what. When I'm gonna screenshot it and put it on the IG, And I said, I didn't tell him, but I was definitely going to shout it. I already knew it in my brain because his clapback wasn't like some snarky Twitter, you know what I'm saying, fingers type situation. It was basically, well, X, Y, and Z, da 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 da. This is why it happened. You know what I'm saying? Don't believe everything. One of those type of clapbacks. I'm like, you know what? I was disappointed in myself because what happens is I get still caught up in that fandom of believing everything the team might let you believe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they can have spin on when they don't have a player come back. You
Right.
know, I had a long time beef with Champ Bailey once he left the Redskins. I'm still letting that one go. I love Clinton Portis, but I'm still letting that one go because we got hoes. We got hoes for a future Hall of
That was
Fame cornerback.
terrible trade.
But whatever.
Oh, did you see? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your story. I'm
Okay.
ask
I'll wrap
something.
it. I'll get to the end quick, so you can say what you're gonna say. So, what happened was, you know, if you don't know, Larry Hughes was he played for the Wizards for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and when he was a free agent, rather than signing with the Wizards, he ended up going to the Cavaliers with LeBron.
Yeah.
Now, from the outside looking in, when you have a guy who was a former all team defense of player and led the league in steals on your team and had a great chemistry with your point guard, you would think that the obvious answer is let's run it back. Let's get even better. But he ended up signing with the Cavaliers.
Right.
But apparently the reason why he signed with the Cavaliers is because the Wizards basically just gave him, I'm saying, a number. They didn't treat it like they really wanted him, but they gave him an offer, you know what I'm saying, to show face to the fans that, hey, we tried. And Larry was like, nah, I'm not going to take this. And,
Right.
and the funny thing is, if I wasn't a Wizards fan and I was just thinking about Larry Hughes' chances, I don't give a goddamn what the Wizards offered. If I got to choose between playing with Gilbert Arenas for the Wizards or LeBron James, I'm choosing LeBron too.
Right.
If I'm trying to win. If I
Have you
want to be
listened-
a star and make my own name, I choose the Wizards. But if I want to win, and Larry was probably like in his 6th, 7th year at the time.
Yeah.
So it was around that time. It was like it's almost like make or break in a way, and it sort of ended up being a break for him. You know what I'm saying, based on how his career went after that.
He got the bag, so I'm not mad at it because he was injury prone before he came here.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't mad that he didn't give him 72 mil. That was exorbitant for a guy that's not going to play but like 50 games for you. But have you listened to the podcast? Because I haven't listened, but I was like,
Yeah,
I was
I listened. So they had it looked like they had like a good handful of episodes. And it was the funny thing is, sometimes when the magazines, or well, not magazines anymore, but the publications, I'll say, advertise certain pods and stuff like that, I don't necessarily look at the names. So I didn't even realize it was the person who I was talking to, it was his podcast, because it was on. They were talking about it on Bullets Forever. They was like, "Yo, this new podcast, check it out." With such as Matt Madorno and Larry Hughes.
Right.
Didn't even think anything of it, because I'm like, why the fuck is Larry Hughes doing a podcast for the Wizards?
Yeah, that's what okay.
And they get to telling you that, like, yo, this is the place where he wanted to be a Wizard, and it's like, you know what? Now I might really thankful that you know what I'm saying, I got set straight. So now I'm really interested in hearing him talk about, being a Wizard and just his basketball perspective, because I think the Wizards need more NBA, you know what I'm saying, legends. And I think he's a. I think when you say Larry Hughes, basketball circles know who he is.
He's a guy like Cedric Ceballos. People know, like Richard Dumas. Like, people know who he is. He was a good player when he played in eras, and then like, especially if he was on a team that one of your favorite teams, he's going to be like the Sixers. Like, to me, he's a Sixer.
I think I think him more of the Wizard as a Sixer, but he played for us at his best. So that's why I think I would consider more us than anybody else.
Right.
As a Sixer, he was just known for being in the backcourt with AI.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't stay healthy, and that's how we got him. But either way, I don't want to spend this pod on talking about them. I want y'all listening to us.
But I had another question though. I had a question. Let's move on.
Go ahead.
A shout out to them, Believe in podcast, another Wizards podcast. That's dope. Did you see the Richard Hamilton interview? I think it's on All the Smoke with Matt Barnes.
I haven't caught that one yet.
He said that LaRon Prophet crossed Jordan one practice and then told him, "Yo, you can't guard me with them old ass knees." And then 3 weeks later, he was traded.
Hey, you know what? I'm hearing about. It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. That I'm literally like 5 minutes before we launched, I was watching Bill Bellamy tell his story about. Being on the Warner Brothers studio where Michael Jordan got invited to play ball with him because he had like a dome, and he was talking about playing ball with him, and somebody had commented that Tyus Edney hit Jordan with a mean hezzy, got him out of there.
Tyus Edney.
You don't really hear about that motherfucker no more.
He's nice. Yeah. Nah, he's UCLA. Shout out to him.
So AI, you should be counting your lucky star that you was a superstar, because anybody else, boy, he'd a blackball the league for hitting him with them hands up 2 times.
That's funny.
But yeah, I gotta check out that one. I haven't caught that.
Yeah, I didn't see. I saw the clip. Of course, they're gonna put the MJ clip up of any interview.
That's called advertising. You have to.
Yeah, man. I mean, Richard Hamilton was a big mistake.
When I make clips for this for this episode, I'm gonna make clips of you saying that Rip Hamilton did that on All the Smoke. That's what I'm gonna do. So it's only smart that they would do that.
Yeah, man. So I was. It's just funny the reminiscing back on those MJ years where he was the GM and then tried to play 2 years, or not tried to. He played well, but
so that's your question. Do you think LaRon Prophet got traded because he said that, or because he just wasn't really good player?
I think he got traded because he went against him. I think it just comes off like even like all the Last Dance stuff. Even when
shout out to LaRon Prophet.
Yeah, shout out to LaRon Prophet.
Terps.
Yeah, Fear the Turtle, bro. Shout out to him for getting the best of him on the practice court. But yeah, I think he went. He probably did. He was probably more than one time. He went and put his ankles in a blender, and it was just one time too many. And Jordan wasn't with it, so he had to get out of here. I
think it's crazy that we probably have listeners that don't know who LaRon Prophet is.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
He wasn't on the national championship team. He was on the year before.
He ran with Joe.
Yeah. He was he didn't run with Joe.
Did he not run with Joe?
No, he ran with Steve.
No, he ran with Steve. My bad. He ran with Steve.
He ran with Steve Francis the year before. He graduated the year before Juan Dixon wins the national championship. But yeah, man, shout out to LaRon, man. Those were good teams.
It was 2 years because LaRon wasn't even on the team that went to the Final Four.
It was 2 years before. Oh, okay, yeah,
it was 2.
You're right. I'm.
Remember they went to the Final Four first.
Because Juan Dixon was on the same team as Steve Francis and LaRon Prophet at one point when he was a freshman. So it's kind of like a mix. I can't remember all the.
Man, I missed that Terp squad, man.
Yeah, the Terps back then, man. That was a good run. That was a good run.
Let's get into it, B. Let's get into it.
All right,
let's get into it.
Gotcha.
And I'm gonna preface it. This is how I got to this. This is how I decided I wanted to talk about this. It's because everybody is enamored with the MCU, including myself, including you. We love the MCU, and rightfully so. It's a great franchise. They were doing great work.
and it just has you think about the future. Like, oh, we got great movies. Like they're gonna keep cranking out great movies, and we think about Thanos, and right now Thanos is the top dog when it comes to villains, right?
Right.
And it feels like if they were to go and just and do an
Your
all-time,
sound muffling, bro. Your sound muffling.
My sound's muffling. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. All right, you back now. You back.
So what I was saying is that if they were to go and vote for who were the top villains right now, like of all time, I feel like Thanos would be too high on that list just based on the last, you know what I'm saying, 3 years, the last 2 movies, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I feel like they wrote him great, and the story is great, and he deserves it. He deserves a lot of the recognition that he's getting because they did a great job with him. But
Right.
when I think about all-time villains in movies and cinema, comics, Thanos is the number 1 on my list. When I rank them, I'm like, yo, I gotta be. You have to remind. Thanos is the newest, and you still have to remind me. Whoa, what about Thanos? Because he wouldn't register on mine. He wouldn't be in my top 5.
Right. I mean, he's a big Marvel Comics character, but that was like in the 80s. I mean, they brought him back. Of course, they bring him back in, bring everybody in and out. Like, to me, like I was dividing up in different sections. You said villains. I'm like, how I do that? But
That's why I said villains and antagonists,
right,
bad guys, the opposition.
Thanos in the comics is not as, to me, and I'm not the official, I'm not the authority on Thanos Avengers comics, but to me, it's not as interesting as what they put on screen. What they put on screen is way more interesting than the Thanos that you see in the comics. I mean, he does some cooler stuff in the comics, of course, but yeah, he's a good villain. If he's in somebody's top 25, that's 25, 30. I can't be mad at it.
But he's gonna be in a lot of people's like top 5.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I hear you.
So if you all right, so I'm gonna ask you first.
Okay.
Now you can choose whether you do it like villains all together, or you can just stick to comic books. But who is your top 5 favorite villains of all time?
So, when you said that, when you put that in the group chat, I had just did cartoons.
Right.
So my list, no order, was Shredder, Gargamel from Smurf, the Joker from Batman animated series, the first one, the original, the Fire Lord from Avatar, and Megatron.
Megatron.
So that's my cartoon one. That's the cartoon.
Okay. I like that list.
Gargamel might be the outlier, right? It's probably people gonna like hit me and say, "Hey, Gargamel, what was you thinking about?" But he was he was funny, and then he got him a couple times. Tried to.
So I think the biggest difference between our lists is that your villains are on cartoons or on series, so you see them a lot more. So you can spread out how long you hate them or feel some type of way about them. Whereas mine were Lopan
from
Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because that's like one of my all-time favorite movies. So and my man was savage. He was like, I want him with the green eyes. And he had, and the thing about it, I used to have a big crush on Kim Cattrall when I was younger, from Big Trouble in Little China and The Mannequin. Those I loved, man. You couldn't tell me nothing bad about her. So he snatched up my girl. I'm like, yo, and Kurt Russell was my man. I'm like, yo, we got to get this dude. This can't fly. We got to get him. But it's no rank. Of course, my all-time rank was Freddy Krueger. That's my all-time villain.
Got you.
Freddy Krueger's number 1. The Joker, because I feel like the way Joker's been
his character, even though it's a clown, it's so versatile. You can be really deep, or you can be really shallow. You could be goofy, or you could be, the menace of all menaces when you're writing for the Joker. And that's what I love about the Joker. So, whereas Batman is just Batman. Like if you really basing your movie or your show on just Batman, you really don't have a show. Not now.
No.
Like, what you gonna do? Give him a new gadget? Like,
Right.
you've already given him the nice car. You already given him a nice suit. You know, what can you give Batman now? Nothing. The only thing you can give him is more intriguing villains, and Joker is his most intriguing villain. So Joker's up there for me. Who, you know, if I'm not doing movies, and I'm going off animation, so that would take Freddy Krueger out, I would definitely say Magneto is my number one. Magneto has been the leading guy in like Marvel. Like, think about it. He's not as powerful as Thanos. He's not as powerful as Apocalypse, who for a long time was way ahead of Thanos. Like, nobody talked about Thanos growing up. We talked about Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen, right?
Yeah.
Magneto was the man. Magneto was like everybody's arch enemy, and he had that A1 sperm, no homo. Look at the kids. Look at the kids. Polaris, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch. He got like 2 other kids out there too that's like likes that.
Right.
Right?
Right. No, I feel you. I hear you.
He
He
was just the man.
Yeah, A1. And they based every X-Men, even when he's not the villain, he's got to be the villain. Like,
I'm gonna tell you, this is why I like Magneto, because when I look at him, like if you put Marvel Comics, X-Men in context to reality, what will mutants be?
Black people.
Black people. Now, who's the peaceful person? Professor X.
Which is
That equates to who?
MLK.
Martin Luther King.
Right.
So if you got a Martin Luther King, that means you gotta have a Malcolm X, and that was Magneto. Magneto was Malcolm X.
Right.
I love me some Martin Luther King, but Malcolm X was just more active.
No, yeah,
he's more activated. I ain't gonna say active. He's more activated.
His rhetoric, the what he was about, kind of like is magnetic, more magnetic, is it to get a pun off than MLK, man. Like, or, you know, Malcolm. Like when I was a kid, I grew up in the church, so like they wasn't all about. You know, he was Nation of Islam, so you didn't really hear about him. But like when I get older, I'm 18, and I'm reading about Malcolm X. I'm like, man, he was a real one. Like, what did you on? Like,
I feel like both of them, not just Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. We sort of had like, they gave us information on them with kitty gloves. They didn't want to risk young Christian boys to defect to the Nation of Islam at a time where it was happening rampantly. Yeah. Right off of Black Panthers, right off of, you know what I'm saying, Reaganomics.
Mm-hmm.
We were just, and then going to jail, mass incarceration. We were just coming out of jail as you know what I'm saying, we part of the Nation of Islam. So they didn't want that. But also Martin Luther King is like, they led us to believe that like this dude was like pure. Right. Like, listen, Martin Luther King was a great person.
Right.
But everybody has flaws, and Martin Luther King had flaws too. And I feel like had they could have humanized him a little more when we were growing up.
You know what? But that's because they kind of steal his spirit so they can you know, put this nonviolent stuff on us. I think what I think the problem is that they kind of like filter his spirit. Like if you read what he's talking about, he's not rocking with none of this. Like he's telling them like, yo, y'all crazy. I don't even know if I should have even been doing this the whole time. He's on from like it's not, it's like, and they treat it, if they really told it, they did the same thing to Muhammad Ali. They do the same thing to Muhammad Ali. Like, he wasn't about no Vietnam. They hated that man. They hated him. If they could have killed him, they would have. And that's probably why they were trying to send him to Vietnam. But now, like in the 80s, when he couldn't, he got the disease, couldn't speak as well, they gravitated to, oh, no, we love you. Y'all ain't love that man. Y'all loved this, like his winning ways. Y'all loved his rhymes. But you didn't love what he was talking about, especially in the 70s and the late 60s.
Of course not.
And that's the same thing. That's the same treatment they got to MLK. They shot him in the head, and now you can talk about, his legacy any way you type, you really want to. And because his nonviolent marches were to spur violence from the white people, they kind of make it sound like, oh, the only way you can do this is this way. This is what MLK did. And that's not true. That's not true. And you just saw it. They wasn't going to charge that man in Minnesota. Bama's burnt down a police station the next day. Oh, okay. Okay. And they still on some BS, but, we'll see what happens. But, yeah. Yeah, man. They whitewash both. They whitewash people's histories. And
yes, they do.
The biggest ones, I think, in my opinion, Black history is in the 20th century is MLK and Muhammad Ali. Because if you really knew what they was about, they really, taught it like they should, some of us wouldn't be doing some of the things we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how let's get back to Muhammad Ali was a villain to them.
I got him, y'all. I got him. He said he wasn't gonna do it, but I got his ass. But since all right, so Magneto is my guy, right? But also, one who people don't talk about is my man, Judge Doom. From Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I hate it, man. He wanted to get rid of all tunes.
That's funny. No, that's
diabolical.
That's an evil guy.
Right? How you want to? And then the whole time, the motherfucker was a tune himself.
Right.
What kind of self-hating shit is that?
That's that Candace Owen type of self-hate right there, bro.
The Bama tried to he framed Roger Rabbit, tried to kill Roger Rabbit, killed like 3 humans, including my man's brother. Like, damn, bro. He's like the worst type of person. The worst.
That's wild.
How was that? Was that 3 or 4? I said Freddy Krueger, Joker, Magneto. Oh, that's 5. That's my 5. That was my 5.
Judge Doom.
Judge Doom. And
I mean,
if I take Freddy Krueger out, if I take my movie ones out, and I take Freddy Krueger out, and I take out Lopan because those are, those aren't cartoons, and I had to add 2 cartoon villains, Scar from Lion King. Damn, bro.
Damn. Yeah.
That was damn, bro.
Yeah, he was. That kill your own brother.
Not only that, like, bro, you like it'd be one thing if you thought you was better than him. You ain't shit. Like, you want him and you ain't even shit. You gave hyenas Dominion over a pride. Like, let's be 100. Let's be 100. If a lion had hyenas as his pride, another lion pride is gonna come up and roll up on their ass.
Crush
like, other animals aren't worried about no hyenas. Some wolves gonna come and slap them around. Hyenas? This is your crew? You got rid of us so you can put... That's some bullshit. So you got rid of a great leader like Mufasa. Right? Come on, bruh.
Right. Nah, I feel you.
And then it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long for he ruined the whole goddamn land. Then little Simba, little punk ass had to come and clean it all up. Come on, man.
If you
Simba wasn't fit to lead.
So is it Scar versus Shere Khan? How you have it?
Scar, because Scar was he He was a mastermind. He masterminded his brother being killed,
Yeah,
and
he was
nobody knew
evil.
he did it.
Yeah,
He got away with that shit.
right. That's facts. He had won by the time the middle of the movie. He had the W. He was up 3-1.
Facts.
The Warriors.
He got to enjoy his. Most villains don't get to enjoy no win. They like, yeah, it's like 5 minutes of I'm winning.
Right.
Like and you know what? He didn't have that role of, you know how when villains about to win, and it's classic. I'm about to win, so I'm gonna explain to you how I'm gonna do it, what my plan is.
Right.
Like, who decided that that's a part of cinema? That's like the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, I thought that was dumb. Like,
it is.
Like, why is he telling them this? Like, what the fuck is you thinking? Right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Scar didn't do that. He didn't tell Simba this is what's gonna happen, Simba. I'm gonna do it. Nah. He executed a mean ass plan. We didn't see that shit coming. And then what happens? My man falls to his death. And they couldn't just leave it at that. What they had to do? They had to make Simba go and lift his paw up like Daddy ain't dead.
No, he for real. He
Hey,
real,
listen,
dead.
I was one 12-year-old that cried. I don't give a goddamn. I cried not when Mufasa, not because he died, not because he got trampled by a billion motherfucking buffalo. It's because when Simba went over there, like, come on, Dad. And he just snuggled under his pop for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That was tough.
Yeah. That's yeah, man. I cried too. I can't fake. That's a good one. That's a good 5. Even cartoon or not, that's a good one.
Jafar's up there for me.
Jafar, yeah.
He's up there for me.
You can do a top 5 Disney joint. You just did like 4, so.
Jafar is up there for me as villains. Who's another villain that's up there for me?
In what space?
I mean, in any even in comics, see, the thing, you know, the funny thing is like when you grow up on a big, like, I have older cousins like 6 or 7 years older than me, so they were like if you were like a 70s baby, you were really into comic books. Like, we were on the back end of comic books. Like, maybe you read them because a big brother read them or something like that, but you weren't guaranteed that you was reading comic books. But our generation before us, they were reading comic books. So my big cousins, the way they used to read comic books, Gambit wasn't a good guy.
Right.
You know? Gambit was a villain more times than he was a hero with the X-Men. He started off as a villain. And a lot of those guys started off as villains. So technically I could say, because Gambit was my man, I can say Gambit was Rogue was a villain at one point.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of good villains out there, right? But they don't. If I got to tell you somebody's a villain, then that discounts them. So I don't count them. They're just honorable mentions. Is all I'm gonna say.
Right.
But like dominance though, I feel like Kingpin deserves some respect because he didn't have no superpowers.
Nah,
he was a boss.
Probably.
He was strong as hell.
Yeah.
But he was a boss.
In the comics, Dr. Doom is probably one of them. Galactus, Apocalypse. We talked about him. He was probably more like if you threw that back out there in 19, whenever it was when we was
Let
kids.
me ask you a question. How'd you feel about Apocalypse in a cinema sense?
I wish they didn't even put Magneto in it. And it took away from who Apocalypse was, and they gave him all types of weird powers that he didn't have. So it kind of like threw me off a little bit. Oscar Isaac didn't do a bad job, and it wasn't an awful movie. It was just wasn't good.
I'm gonna tell you like this. This is what I thought about Apocalypse in the cinema realm. Is you needed the MCU to see how they did Apocalypse to know that Thanos can't lose in the first movie. If Apocalypse had not lost, In the first movie, he'd be bigger. The fact that Thanos didn't lose in a movie, he was like, villains lose at the end of the movie.
Right.
Thanos didn't lose.
He wanted the end of the movie.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's what makes him that elevated. Like, oh shit, he won.
And to speak to that, in the cartoon, the X-Men jump, it was a whole arc of Apocalypse. It was like 5 to 8 episodes of Apocalypse crushing them Bammers. Like they couldn't touch him. You can't do that in 2 hours. You can't put that together in 2 hours. You know what I mean? Or it's very hard to do that in 2 hours. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if they did a part 1, part 2, it would have worked a lot better to set up Apocalypse. You have to set up some of these guys. Like you give the hero a lot of time, especially in a group. The X-Men is a group movie. You know what I mean? You don't get the follow. That's why Magneto penetrates and Apocalypse really doesn't, because he's so all powerful. You can't like relate to him on a human level. So you gotta make him the Goldberg, like 50-0. Yeah. You gotta set him up for that.
You know what else they did with Thanos to push them over? They gave him a squad that was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The children of Thanos are like they could run some shit themselves. The sad part is Apocalypse has the same thing, but you didn't get to see that in the movie.
Right, and they didn't do that justice. Like
you didn't get to like when he got arc. Number one, you gotta peel back the onion.
Right.
The way they put Archangel in the X-Men movies from the beginning was butter soft. He didn't look vicious. Like Archangel was a dog in the comics. He looked vicious. He looked like he's dogging some shit. He looked like a little punk ass kid in the movie. I'm gonna bust out of this and show you my wings and fly out the window. I'm mad. Get your bitch ass out of here. Right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like
they didn't do it.
At one point in the comics, Apocalypse had what's my guy? Silver Surfer?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Silver Surfer or Iceman? He had one of them. Might have been Iceman.
I think
he had one of them as one of his horsemen.
Yeah. I think it might be Ice. Oh yeah. I got you.
It was probably Iceman, because Iceman is more on the X-Men side of the Marvel comics anyway. But I can't remember. I'm trying to remember right now, because I only remember how I was only pissed off at how weak they made Archangel look. But yeah, like imagine if Apocalypse had that squad on top of him being who he is. Like Thanos, Thanos got he has Infinity Stones and a squad.
Right.
That's the equivalent of having an all-star team on Madden. You playing against somebody, and you have a created player that's all 99s.
Right.
Playing quarterback. That's the equivalent of what you gave Thanos.
Right. No, I agree. Like it's they set up his people way better, because they were able to give them their 15 minutes each. They had to set up him going to him and doing all this. They didn't have to do all that with Thanos' people. Like they didn't have to do all that, and it just worked a lot better. If they had Storm already, and then somehow Storm was convinced to go to his side, and they had already had Psylocke, and Psylocke was convinced to go to his side, and Archangel was already on the team, and you know what I mean? That would have been a way more compelling story than what they did. I'm sorry that they did that. They didn't do him no justice. And if they were gonna do that, I would have just told them to just throw that in the trash and wait till Marvel picks y'all up. You know what I mean? And it's a shame, because Days of Future Past did them. They could have really did some. That was a good movie, and they could have built off that, but they didn't. They chose not to. But It's like,
So, you know, I had to do some looking. I wanted to see who the horsemen were. At one point, he had Wolverine as a horseman.
yeah.
You already said Psylocke. Gambit. I told people Gambit was a villain at one point. I didn't know Wolverine was that's new to me. I didn't know Wolverine was a horseman at one point. I don't know how long that lasted or what publication that was or who was writing that one.
Yeah,
Banshee. Banshee's another known name. The rest of them, I don't know the rest of these guys. Polaris is on the list.
Mm-hmm.
That's Magneto's kid. Colossus is on the list. Hulk is on the list.
Mm-hmm.
But that. Put like this: the list of people that I see that were members, it's like 30 people, and that goes to tell you just how influential and powerful Apocalypse was.
Right.
If he wanted you, you was his. You would do his bidding. If he wanted you to do his bidding, you did it. Apocalypse was a problem in the comics.
He's a beast.
So, you know, that was just what it was. So we gonna take a pause right here. I'm gonna go in the house. I gotta piss. We're gonna clip it. I'm gonna launch a new. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna launch a new one, and I'm gonna hit you back.
All right.
All right.